Yeah, I'm a Christian, and I didn't just end up in Iran. I picked it. And sure, this isn't the usual leisure ministry getaway that you'd find in the church bulletin. But let's be honest. Wouldn't we all trade the Gaither homecoming cruise for a little exile-era sightseeing? No itinerary, no AC, just a lot of heat, warm water bottles, some ruins, and the empty spaces where the French said, "We'll take that." This is Susa, the spot where the stories of Esther and Nehemiah unfolded, and the reason every Christian women's conference is titled, "For Such a Time as This." Esther is also the story where Yahweh's name is never mentioned, but his fingerprints are everywhere. His hand of providence is at work behind the scenes, orchestrating events to preserve his people and fulfill his purposes. We see no fire from heaven, no divine voiceovers, just a civil servant getting a permit, a queen saving a nation over dinner, and a guy named Haman learning what sharp irony feels like. And so, this is Susa. And yeah, this is exactly where I found myself today.
So we're now heading into the historical site of ancient Susa. So let's check it out. So we just got our tickets here at the World Heritage Site of Susa, and it was 2.5 million reals, which is like, I think it's like $3.50. And we're about to head in.
If you were to ask me what was the number one thing you wanted to see in Iran, it would be this site. And I'm just really passionate about visiting places in the Bible, and there are a number of these in Iran, including Apadana, the Ule Canal, which is right across the street from here, and then the ancient capital of Susa, which we're about to walk up and see here in a second.
So first stop is going to be the bathrooms here at the museum, which we're about to head into. And outside the museum, you can see a bunch of like historical objects that they have from this ancient site, which I'll show you some of those.
Okay, probably we can go from faster.
This is a gigantic column base.
Yes, one of the pillars of the Apadana Palace. We'll go there to see.
We've got the handicraft shop, which I am going to come back to at the end of the tour. So we are now heading up to the palace where the story of Esther occurred, and also where Nehemiah was a cupbearer. So here we go. And it is incredibly hot today.
Yeah, it's so hot here.
Even Asan is putting sunscreen on.
Yeah, I just add some more sunscreen on my nose, unless it's become like a sausage after that.
And I have put sunscreen on twice today. So we're here at one of the gates of the palace. So right behind me you can see these gates, and it's believed that these gates led to the women's quarters. And so when we see in the beginning of the book of Esther where Mordecai comes to check on Esther, he more than likely passed by or through these gates.
Hi, Esther.
Hey. Yes, it's awesome. People here are incredibly friendly. Every time I pass by somebody who speaks English, they always like to introduce themselves and ask where I'm from. And when I tell them I'm from the US, their face just lights up. So definitely not what you expect with being in Iran. So I'm about to walk right back through the gate that Esther more than likely walked through. So let's go. You can see off in the distance this kind of cone structure, and so that's the tomb of Daniel. And then right behind that, you've got the Ule River or the Ule Canal that's mentioned in Daniel chapter, I think it's chapter 8.
So I did have to take several breaks under this tree right here to our left because probably every 5 to 10 minutes my camera and even my cell phone would overheat because of the extreme temperatures here. And this site is really nice because they do have these descriptions as you walk through the whole site, which not all ancient sites have this. So really nice touch.
So I'm here at the spot where most people probably think of when they think of Susa. They think of Esther coming before the king to make her plea for him to come to the banquet that she was preparing. And so over here we have the gate that we were just at, to the women's quarters. And then right behind me we have where the throne would have sat for King Xerxes. And so Esther would have come through here on this floor that we see that's sinking behind me, and she would have stood there before him, and he would have motioned for her to come towards him. And that's when she would make her plea to him to come to the banquet, actually 2 times, and she would ask for him to save her people. And so I'll try to show you the floor. It's a little hard to see because there's a hole here. You can't go further because the French did excavations here and didn't fill it up. And so the floor that Esther probably done is sinking into the ground. And so right in front of that floor, you got the area where the throne would have sat. So check it out. This is the view Esther would have had of King Xerxes.
But now it's not possible actually. So now we are going to go to the
Apadana.
central hall of the Apadana Palace.
Look at that. What is that?
Oh yeah, that one is yeah, I wanted to show you this animal. It was a fox.
So here we are at the last biblical site that we're going to see here in Susa, and this is where the book of Esther opens up, and we see King Xerxes having a feast with the leaders here in Susa. And so his throne was right here behind me on this block in the middle, and this would also be where Nehemiah would have been the cupbearer to the king. So really cool place. You can see it right here. And we're about to head over here in the middle to get a better view of this place.
So these are also other places. There was another gate in this area. That the gate from Central Hall opened to the portico or porch here. Portico or porch, I mean a place that this side was a door, 2 side was a wall, but that area was open to the outside. Okay, the name of that area in Persian we call it Avon. Italians they call it porch or portico, or now a word that used today is maybe trace, something like that. And here you can see some bases. There is a stone, there is a hole in the middle, that the base of the doors were matched in this hole, so they could open the doors and open the gates.
You can see how big the bases for the columns were. we're going to come back and walk right down here in just a minute.
In this area, you can see how was the capitals, you know? The pillars, they had a base, they had a torus, they had a shaft, they had a foliated capital, and the last part was capital. It was two-headed bull, and they put the shaft of the trees between the two heads, okay? The two heads to make the structure for the ceiling. You can see one of them over there.
That's why this place caught on fire so quickly. I guess it's because of all the beams.
Yeah. Look how huge there are these pillars here. This is only the base of the pillar. Look how big it is.
So we're now heading to where King Xerxes' throne was, here in the banquet hall that we saw in the beginning of the book of Esther and in Nehemiah. So let's go. And you can just see the rows of columns on both sides leading up to the throne. So in Nehemiah chapter 2, this is where the scene before King Artaxerxes would have played out when Nehemiah was his cupbearer. And so in Nehemiah chapter 2, starting in verse 1, it says, "Early the following spring, in the month of Nisan, during the 20th year of King Artaxerxes' reign, I was serving the king his wine. I had never before appeared sad in his presence. So the king asked me, 'Why are you looking so sad? You don't look sick to me. You must be deeply troubled.' Then I was terrified, but I replied, 'Long live the king. How can I not be sad? For the city where my ancestors are buried is in ruins, and the gates have been destroyed by fire.' The king asked, 'Well, how can I help you?' With a prayer to the God of heaven, I replied, 'If it pleases the king, and if you are pleased with me, your servant, send me to Judah to rebuild the city where my ancestors are buried.' The king, with the queen sitting next to him, asked, 'How long will you be gone, and when will you return?' After I told him how long I would be gone, the king agreed to my request. I also said to the king, 'If it pleases the king, let me have letters addressed to the governors of the province west of the Euphrates River, instructing them to let me travel safely through their territories on my way to Judah. And please give me a letter addressed to Asaph, the manager of the king's forest, instructing him to give me timber. I will need to make beams for the gates of the temple fortress, for the city walls, and for a house for myself.' And the king granted these requests because the gracious hand of God was on me." And so this whole scene would have played out right here behind me.
So this bull that we see right in front of us, the top of the column, a French team, when they were excavating this site, wanted to transport it back to France, ideally to the Louvre. But however, due to its sheer size and weight, logistical constraints made this impossible. So they really had two options. They could leave it intact and risk it being damaged by looters or locals, or they could cut it into pieces and make it transportable. And as you can imagine, they chose to break it into pieces, hoping to reassemble it later. But unfortunately, they were never able to bring it all back, and the fragments were left behind, damaged and incomplete, some now stored on display at the site here in Susa. Right here in front of us, we have what is effectively an archaeological graveyard or an open-air scatter zone where broken pieces, let's call it column fragments, damaged capitals, and untransported ruins have been left behind or stored, some from ancient destruction and then others from French-led excavations. Right here in front of us, we have the eastern court And this is where we would have found enameled bricks with Achaemenid soldiers on them, but unfortunately, the majority of items here at Susa have been taken to other countries during excavations.
Then go to the then go to the last. And 1/3 of the Susa just excavated. These are all need to excavate more. And they have inscriptions. You know? Can you see them? These are the bricks that they have inscriptions.
Ah, the cuneiform.
Cuneiform. These are from the ziggurat. Some of them they have, each 5.
And this castle that we're outside really served as the base of operations for French excavations. They stored artifacts here before shipping them to the Louvre, and it provided protection for them.
I asked them why you did blood that or nothing. Okay, so Grishman was a person that excavated this area. Excavated the Susa, the ziggurat, furnace below, manual jack, and this one is manual small crane. You say chariot?
Chariot.
Chariots, and we have something to transfer the material, and also it was the car of the Grishman himself that he could go to the ziggurat and come back with this car. It's a Land Rover. Roman Grishman's car.
So this is the castle here at Susa, where the French archaeological expedition was headquartered. So I had to change hats because of the sun, but I don't know if you can see right behind me. So we've got the Tomb of Daniel right about here. You can see it, the cone, and then right behind there, there's a forest off in the distance. And so that's where the lions would have been here in Susa. So this wraps up our tour of ancient Susa, which you can see right behind me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below because it helps me continue making content just like this video.